Right, in the back of the London Ultra Cab, we have on the All City Taxi Talk Show the legendary DJ Supreme.
What's up? How you doing?
And this is a very special show because this is actually the first show. So I'm honoured to have you on.
I'm honoured to be the first guest.
Now the first two questions I love to ask people is where you actually from and what was it like growing up as a kid? And I know the road we're sitting on now is the road you grew up on.
Yeah, we're on Effra Road now, so Brixton. I grew up between Brixton Hill and Effra Road. This is my between my ages of up to 5 years old. I went to Effra school. This is where I grew up, man. I got up to all kinds of mischief around here, and that was back in the 70s.
Wow.
So all my younger memories of getting into trouble, musical influences, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, you know, John Holt, Marcia Griffiths, all that old stuff, pop music. It was, for me, it was a tough time. I mean, we had things like, you know, rubbish strikes and, you know.
Oh, it's very tough.
Yeah, it was a tough time.
I remember what it was like back then. I mean, obviously, you see films like Babylon.
Yeah.
Babylon really sets out that kind of what that sort of late 70s, early 80s film in London.
Yeah,
was like.
definitely, man.
So yeah, it was a very different time back then. That's for sure. And how did you get into the music?
I was kind of always listening to music. I was a bit of a mummy's boy.
Yeah.
And I was always indoors, so I never really ventured out like my other brothers and sisters. I come from a big family.
Yeah.
So I was always inside, and I was doing one of two things: either playing my mum and dad's records, so like taking the records out and just playing them, or watching TV. And I always remember playing all the vinyl and just sitting down and trying to imitate either the drum patterns or how the guitar was playing, listening to the lyrics. So I was always into the detail of the music. Yeah. And even with TV as well, I was always picking up on how the music was being used.
Yeah. Do you remember the Tomorrow People?
Oh, definitely,
and
definitely.
That soundtrack was really, way ahead of its time, wasn't it?
Yeah. All the music from back then was spacey. Yeah. Loved it.
And can you remember the very first record you bought and where you bought it from? That's a tough question.
No, it's not tough. What is it? It was Clapham Sounds. I was living in Clapham at the time then, and it was a record shop called Clapham Sounds, on Clapham Common.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was Solid as a Rock by Ashley. By Ashley Simpson. Yeah, Solid as a Rock, or it was something else. I can't remember. I think that was my first record. So, and it wasn't hip hop. So, and then I think the next record I bought after that was like Buffalo Girls.
But the thing is, hip hop or electro was, that wasn't really around in the, it wasn't really big and starting around the sort of 1982.
Correct.
So, as you said before, before then it was more like the reggae type sound.
Yeah.
And also probably the futuristic sound as well, like bands like Duran Duran, Depeche Mode.
Yeah. I was buying a lot of reggae as well, so I could actually, if I consider the reggae records I was buying, the Lovers Rock stuff that I was buying, I started buying when I was about 17. Started buying records.
Did you ever see any of the, like Saxon and that? Did you ever see them in any of the
Yeah. Before I got into hip hop, I was really into the sound system stuff.
Yeah.
So I was going to the Small Axe, the Front Line, Tubbies. I was going to all that. So I was going to all the park jams, wearing the Clark boots and stuff like that, with my cousin, who was like a DJ, which is an MC, but they call him DJ in the reggae scene.
Yeah.
So I was big into the dancehall thing, man. So that's how I started off. And then when I saw the Buffalo Girls in like 82, 83, I was like, that is what I was looking for. I sort of like gravitated towards that. And then started buying fat laces and all that kind of stuff, and body popping and stuff.
Well, you know, Malcolm McLaren, you know, give him respect. He had his own style going on.
Oh, for
You know,
sure.
he was doing something totally different.
Yeah,
to
for
everybody
sure.
else.
For sure.
And even in his video and the way he dressed. And also, how did you get your name, DJ Supreme?
I think it was back then I used to scroll on the walls of different estates.
Yeah.
Sort of like immature kind of graffiti kind of thing. And I don't know, I think it was the influence of Malcolm McLaren's Buffalo Girls and the Supreme team. And I just liked the name Supreme, so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that. I just like the whole idea of that, and I even use like the sample from Supreme Team show on the Style Wars. So I think that was the main influence.
And what elements of hip hop do you represent? I know obviously you DJ, you're a producer, but have you actually tried? You know, obviously, have you tried other elements like MCing, beatboxing, you know, going back to the graphing?
When I started off in hip hop, I mean, there's the four elements. I really gravitated towards instantly the body popping, then kind of elevated into the breaking, and I also touched a bit on the graffiti. No MCing, no beatboxing, but the graffiti stuff really kind of grabbed me, because in school I used to doodle a lot. And I used to do stuff for like the school paper.
Yeah.
So I used to do comics and stuff like that for the school paper. So I was really into art. At one point I thought I was going to be like you know, a graphic novelist or something like that at one point.
Yeah.
So I really got into graffiti. So I was pretty got into that to a certain level and started to follow it. But then when I took up DJing, it kind of fell off.
And what and who was you sort of looking up to in the graffiti world then? Was it people that you'd like, you know, you think, wow, look at their style?
In the UK, it's got to be the Chrome Angels, man.
Yeah.
Artful Dodger.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were like, they were light years ahead, man.
Ahead of the time, yeah.
Yeah. It was like their style just appeared.
Yeah.
And it was just like rock solid, man. It was just like unbelievable. The characters, the lettering, the colouring, everything was just like, it was crazy.
100%, they was way ahead of the time.
Yeah, that Aerosol Art magazine book. I bought that instantly, man. It's like I would look through that like daily.
Yeah, and
like,
remember that Tough Arts as well. Tough Arts.
Yeah.
Drone 2, Scarf.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, the work was incredible. So I was really looking at a lot of the UK art stuff earlier on, rather than the US stuff. I mean, I watched the Style Wars movie and stuff like that.
Of course. Yeah, no, Star Wars and
exactly.
You know, Beat Street sort of.
I
suppose commercialised it a little bit, but
exactly.
It brought that edge to it. And what does hip hop mean to you as well?
Hip hop changed my life anyway. Personally, it changed my life. I'm very much. At the time, I was as I said, I mentioned before, I was like a bedroom guy. I was recluse, a mummy's boy. Didn't really get out of the house much. And through hip hop, it helped me to kind of express myself in ways that I wouldn't have done in any other kind of medium.
Yeah.
So I was able to sort of like, you know, body pop in front of people, you know, come out of my shell, be myself kind of thing. And with music, I could express myself in ways that I could never express myself verbally.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, it was total a liberating experience.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me. It was freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what hip hop brought for me, man. I became myself basically.
Yeah. And did anyone influence you from back then?
Back then, I don't know of course I took cue points from people.
Yeah.
A lot of people, but they were only cue points. I didn't want to be influenced. There was a time where I wouldn't really listen to people too much because I didn't want to be influenced by them. I really wanted to be somebody that was individual and was something that was my own.
Yeah.
That people would say, okay, that guy sounds like Supreme. Or that production sounds like Supreme's production.
Yeah.
That's how much I wanted to be individual, because that was the rule of hip hop.
That's right.
The rule of hip hop is that you don't bite and you be yourself, you be original.
Yeah.
And that's what I aim for. I said that if my name's going to be written down in a book somewhere, I want to be next to Cash Money, who was original, Jazzy Jeff, who was original, Africa Mambata, who was original. You know, Jam Master Jay, who was original. I want my name next to those pioneers, those originals. So I only thought that you could do that by being yourself and bringing something to the table that hadn't been done before. And that's when I think about influences, of course, Cash Money, Jam Master Jay, DST, and DJ Cheese,
Yeah.
Jazzy J, the two Jazzy J's, New York and Jazzy J from Philly. There's so many DJs, man. There's so many DJs that were incredible, and the producers as well, all the way up from Dre to Jay Dilla and Just Blaze and Primo, and you know,
Yeah.
all those producers, Hank Shockley, Keith Shockley,
The Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad,
Yeah.
Ultra Magnetics, BDP, all those guys obviously had. I took cue points in my production, but at the same time, I understood that I had to be myself. I had to bring something to the table.
And can you remember the very first concert? First concert you went to?
The first concert I went to,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, you know, hip hop, but like, can you remember?
man, that's the very first concert I went to. It's probably I don't know, LL Cool J.
You went, yeah.
Run DMC, Run DMC or LL Cool J, I can't remember. Or maybe it was the same gig
It
actually.
was that was the same gig, and I think Beastie Boys.
Correct, yeah, that's the first one I
That was
went
at
to.
Hammersmith Apollo.
Yeah, that's the one, that's the one.
That was, I think that was 86.
Yeah, that was my first gig. I started a bit late, but that was my first one.
Right, now this is a really tough question because there's so many tracks.
Tell me.
But is it possible? Could you give me your top five all-time favourite tracks? Your top 5.
Oh
I
man,
know that's a really tough question.
that's tough, man.
It's a really tough question.
Yeah, that's
And
tough.
they don't have to be in any kind of order. Just five tracks that really mean, you know, really mean.
Yeah. Man, that's a tough one. You really have to look in my phone, look at my playlist. But Juice, Know the Ledge, Eric B. Rakim.
Yeah.
Rhymologist, Dramos. What else is Terradome, Public Enemy. Public Enemy again. Public Enemy. Was it Rebel Without a Pause?
Oh yeah. That was one of the game changers, wasn't it?
Yeah, that definitely. I have to put an Ultras tune in there. Ego Tripping, man.
Ego Tripping.
Yeah. There's a KRS one still number 1. I mean, there's so many, man, but that's off the top of the head. The tracks that I used to play on rotation, non-stop. Those are the 5.
And through your, you know, your hip hop journey, is there anything that really stood out? Like, is there anything really special that comes to mind? Like your first gig, your first record that come out.
I think it's always the kind of the first record and your first gig. You kind of remember those ones, and I think it's kind of like when our record got played by Tim Westwood. That was a good moment because up until that point I was a bedroom DJ, and I hadn't really been at the house. I've done a few house jams and stuff like that, and then a year later my record was getting played on by Tim Westwood on London radio. So that was pretty cool. This is my estate where I grew up. This is the flat that I lived in, right here.
This one in front.
This right here, yeah.
How mad is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly where I grew up. So yeah, I mean, Westwood playing the songs and doing our first tour with Ice-T. It's like, that's nuts, man. I mean, going all over Europe and doing the thing that you love, and then watching the response from the crowd. They're singing the lyric, and word for word, they know the beats. They're wearing gas masks, balaclavas, and it's just like a sea of madness.
So what was the idea, with like the balaclava thing and the that kind of look?
Well, the whole thing, I mean,
because that was very different.
It was different, and I think when we went on tour, it became very clear to us that imagery and a performance is what made people remember you.
Yeah.
And we had been to too many shows, and I'd been to too many shows and seen people just go up on stage, do a lackluster performance and walk off again. And you know, it was just not satisfying. And we wanted to basically make a really big impact. And so, of course, we had the name Hijack, and our attitude at the time was like, listen, we're about, you know, taking over, we're the best, and you know, there's no one out there that can touch us, and we're just coming to terrorize everybody. So, at the time, back in the 80s, the darkest and most fearful group was the paramilitary group, the IRA. They were still bombing London at the time, and we thought that that whole image would kind of fit with our statement. So we said, you know, let's don balaclavas, let's play this paramilitary thing, because it represents what we're about. You know, we're not taking hostages, we're not pulling no punches. This is what we're about, and yeah, that kind of really took off for us. It was a really good image, and it sticks even to now. If you see a gas mask, you just immediately think of Hijack, right?
Oh, yeah. And I remember the t-shirts with the bullet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And for you, everyone has a different kind of perspective on this, but for you, what was the golden year of hip-hop? Was there like a golden year, where that year that really stood out, musically wise, and...
I think I can say it's between 88 and 1992. For me, I can't put it on one year, because I got to bring all the Juice Crew stuff in there, and that was like late 80s. And Juice Crew for me was like the Death Row camp before Death Row. Yeah. They had all the best artists, they had all the best beats, and it wasn't, you know, the golden era. People say the golden era is really the 90s, but you gotta count all that 80s stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta count all that 80s stuff. So for me, it's like between 88, 87, LL Cool J, all that stuff that was coming out. Public Enemy, all that stuff that was coming. Yeah.
You say
Juice Crew, all that stuff, man. It was. So I would put it over like 4 or 5 years between late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. Have you got a favourite Hijack song? Out of all the songs you've done, have you got like a favourite?
Yeah. I could say if I had to pick one, it will probably have to be Hijack the Terrorist Group. That's for me. It's like our theme tune. That's the theme tune. It was the last track I made on the album. It was the longest track it took me to make. I really sat on that tune for a couple of months to finish it. So it was quite an important track. Did a lot of soul searching to kind of create that. So that for me is like the
energy in that.
Yeah. That's the theme tune for Hijack.
Right. So and what have you got planned for the future? I mean, there was a little whisper that you may be doing something with Blade and Killer Instinct.
Yeah. I'm working with Killer Instinct on a track at the moment. Me and Blade have talked. I'm really happy that he's come out of retirement and is willing to work with me, so that's a really good look. We've always been in touch for many years, and me and Blade has always got on very well. From 20 years ago when I set up Backbone Records and he took my first few copies of vinyl and distributed them through his label. So me and Blade are talking and getting down to working on some tracks. I got a track coming out with the Ice Pick, the legendary Ice Pick, who was also on the Hijack album. A follow-up track also with Son of Noise. They were on the RIP, so we're doing a new track, so that's gonna come out as well. I got stuff with Dirty Goods in the pipeline. I got a Rock Syndicate project as well with Donald D. That's more on the rock side of things. And of course the album this year, so there's a lot bubbling at the moment, plus live gigs and and stuff like that. So a lot going on at the moment.
And your album that's coming out this year,
Yeah.
is that going to be like a mixture of tracks, or?
Yeah, I mean, I want to stick to my roots, of course, but it's going to be like a transition album because when I came out of retirement, like in 2014, my I had a plan in place, and the way I wanted to do it was like I start where I left off, and 92 is where I left off when I left Hijack, and that's why I came back with the same kind of sound, the same kind of energy, and I'm kind of just basically just using that to reintroduce myself back into the music again. But my sound has developed and changed, and my music taste has changed. I'm a different age now. I'm listening to a different kind of music. I always did, but things have changed now. So my influences and my reference points to music have changed. So this album will be kind of a mixture of the old and new. So I think people will find it interesting. The blend, the energy that they feel in the sound and the music that is presented. Of course, I'll be working with rappers and MCs. There will be some vocalists on there as well, but for me, it's all about the energy, the right energy, and having that kind of supreme stamp on it. What people know me for.
Of course, of course. Right, last question. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, past and present?
Man, I have to give a shout out to good friend of mine, Barry Gilbert. Rest in peace. Barry Gilbert is the guy who basically brought Hijack together. He's the guy that basically introduced me to K-Sly, and K-Sly brought Undercover around. So he passed away like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I have to give him a RIP shout out. Of course, I have to shout out all the HQ guys, Ice Pick, Catch 22, Insane Macbeth, AJ Hard Noise, Son of Noise, all the guys, Demon Boys, London Posse, Rodney P, all those guys, Mellow, all of them, Cookie Crew, all those guys, all the guys that are part of my era, and we grew up together, man, because all those guys, they played an important part in the scene, man, that helped elevate the scene and helped elevate our Hijack and the Demon Boys and what have you. So big shout out to all those people, and of course all the people that support me, all my followers on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Big shout out to them, because it's them that keep me going, basically. Those are the people that basically brought me back out again. It's their pressure that's brought me here, so that's the biggest shout out goes to them.
Yeah. Well, Supreme, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the back of the cab.
Thanks for having me, man.
And as I say, a very special sort of show, because this is actually the first one.
Thanks for having me, man.
And it's been a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for your time as well.
Happy to launch the platform, man. Wishing you all the best, man. Good luck with this.
Thank you.
Bless.